and welcome back to the final episode of Chaser. As you may recall from the previous part, we are currently in the car park area of the abandoned Russian base. Something that we'll be doing a little bit differently here. Whenever the death count appears on screen, we'll also be showing the finalists, and showing them eliminated one by one until we have our winner. We've come a long way from the beginning of the game, from Earth orbit to the middle of a bustling metropolis in the USA, up the US coast, and then over to Russia, and then across the Russian tundra into space, and then off to Mars, where we've been mucking about in the dust and not really getting up to much good. Now finally we're at our end point of the game. After this there's nowhere else to go, we've just got to get to the rebels, and after that, well, I guess we'll just have to see. Through this window we can see the car park where we weren't able to get to before. Unfortunately, directly out the window is a truck with a sentry gun, so, well, we're going to have to just leave that until a little bit later. We've got other places we can go. We have another window we can go through, and a lot of deaths to encounter. Fortunately, very little health, and as soon as you step through the window, two guys spawn and immediately launch grenades at you. As you can see, I had my grenade launcher out in advance to take care of them, because after 20 odd deaths I'd given up any pretext of playing it like I was playing it for the first time. And by this point I'm actually pretty happy with how that went. It's a pretty difficult part, and it's... Going back this way gives us an elevated view of that which we saw when we first entered the car park area. There's not really anything else here, but it's evident now that this is the upper level of the first car park we went into. Once again, I'm still looking at that car suspiciously, waiting for some guys to come running out of it. And they finally make their appearance. If we go a little further and around that corner, they'll spot us and they'll get into positions to kill us. But we really don't have the health for that kind of thing, so I'm just gonna cheese it. Something you may have heard was that the AI reacted to me firing before the shots even got anywhere near them. In fact, the grenade was just leaving the barrel of the launcher whenever the guy shouted. Those instant reactions are something that pop up in games now and then. One of the most annoying aspects of it is if you're using a melee weapon, such as a knife or even fists, and if you just swing at empty air, enemies will react and come and try and get you. And even though Chaser has only a knife or a melee weapon, and we generally don't see it all that much, it does the exact same thing. The window we were just looking through had an exoskeleton guy on the other side, and I believe it's the only enemy that I actively avoid in this entire level. We will not be killing that guy. Even with my health restored, I really can't be bothered to chance the encounter. It's time to try and make some progress instead. As I had said before, this level is extremely long, and really I just want to get it over with. Of course, it doesn't help when you fall and it puts you back to pretty much where you started and you have to do it all over again. But this will place us at the window where the truck with the sentry gun was, so we can take care of that, jump through that window, and then make our way forwards into some new places. This part is very tedious, so I'll save you the effort of having to watch it all and speed it up. I can't imagine why they would place the sentry gun here. It's much too awkward to shoot at, and you can't really jump out and get into any immediate cover. It's just terrible placement. If you listen closely, you'll still hear the exoskeleton trying to get a shot or two off at us. The exoskeleton above us helps to keep us at the fringes of the car park. We don't really want to venture out into the outside. And because of that, it also helps us to avoid yet another sentry on a truck. this point the lower level is practically clear and we could in theory just have an explore around, but really there's not much to see. We've just got a lot of the other vehicles around and really not much else. We've got some doorways that don't lead anywhere, but we've got one doorway which does. It's only partially open, so we have to crouch underneath, and when we do we see we've got an immediate problem on the other side. This fellow in front of us actually does patrol back and forth, but if we're standing in view of him he doesn't appear to go anywhere. So rather than step back and hang around there, we can just kneecap him until he falls over and dies. Stashed away around this corner is another exoskeleton doing something very strange yet somehow familiar. I believe it must be bugged or something like that. It's never done that before. By the way, we've snapped him out of whatever bug he was in and we can take care of him now. He doesn't really want to go around the corner, so it makes our job a little bit easier. In order to progress we have to drop down that ladder and into where that truck is, but it actually pays to be a little bit patient. If we hold on, an exoskeleton will walk around the corner and we can see what kind of trouble we could have gotten ourselves into. So we can just stay here and take him out from a distance and actually save ourselves some hassle. A second exoskeleton actually appeared on the left hand side, and after this quick save he appears to be, well, no sign of his friend nearby. I was hoping to take advantage of this bug and just leave him where he was while I cleared out the rest of the place, but we might as well just take him out now. There's a bit of a boring wait here, so I'll just get rid of that. And now we can step into the pit. Not a particularly easy set piece, as you can see from the number of times I was killed. It all kind of comes down to random in the end. The lights in the pit turn off somehow, and then the headlights of the actual truck turn on. But from behind the truck, a few guys spawn. I got lucky this time and they actually ran around the opposite side of the truck from me, just leaving one guy behind. So clearing him out, there's not really all that much resistance, at least combined resistance anyway. I think that's where the problem really comes from. You can usually get blindsided by one guy while you're trying to take out the other. Only 3 guys to actually fight, which is surprising. You really wouldn't think it'd be that much trouble, but it really can be quite tricky. Up steps we've got nothing to fight. We've got some health we can pick up, which we dearly need. But there's not really much else for the moment. We're moving away from the car park and we're exploring an area where things are once again starting to fall to bits. Eventually we'll make our way back to the car park. We're certainly not finished there for the moment, but for now we're just following the path and seeing where it takes us. Down this corridor we've got another cave-in and what appears to be another shiny red bit of Martian dirt. Over that we can probably see that there seems to be something on the other side. Maybe we'll get lucky and find a way over there. Looks like we're out of places to go, and you're probably guessing correctly, we do indeed have to climb over that rock face. Something I found that's pretty handy when moving over the... goddamn interruptions. Hold on a minute. We don't have any explosive grenades to fire at them, so we might as well get some use out of our hand grenades. And the job well done. Probably the most compelling question out of all of that is where the hell did those guys come from? We were down that tunnel and it's completely blocked off at one end, and there's only a tiny vent which I doubt all of them squeezed through in that short space of time. Anyway, where were we? When travelling over geometry marked with the Martian dirt texture, it's often a good idea to switch on your night vision, otherwise you could find yourself taking a very long fall. Because there really only seems to be one texture and supplied to both the wall and the ground, it's hard to see exactly where you can walk and where you can't. Things at a distance tend to blur into things in the foreground, so it is possible in areas such as this to misstep and fall to your death. Once again, this corridor is blocked off at the end, so we have to go back to that open door, and that leads us into familiar territory. However, this time we're a lot higher up than we were before. Here we are back in the car park area, that being the external section between the two actual car parks. Below us we've got a guy with a grenade launcher, which isn't going to help us all that much. There's not really any indication of where we really need to be going, we just have to kind of see what areas are not blocked off, such as this section here blocked off by the steps. We need to find another way around. Hopefully taking out this grenade launcher guy won't be too much trouble. Oh boy. Far below us is a truck, and I guess that's where we need to be headed. We've only got ways to go down, so we can try and find our way there. Opposite us is an actual gigantic lift which the truck came down on, and I'm guessing that all of the other trucks came down on as well.
Drop your weapons!
This would appear to be the primary entryway that the Martian guys got down, but it's kind of lightly populated given that all the guys we've fought so far. In practical terms, of course you wouldn't want to overload this area with guys to fight, because obviously they're acting a lot more efficiently than they have been in previous levels. We can get our asses kicked with only a handful of guys to fight. Here's an interesting trap. If you're not moving fast enough down these steps, you will plummet to your death. I think it's quite an interesting thing that you'll be going down at a fair speed anyway, and it just carries you over the gap and you just land, and you probably wouldn't even notice that the trap was there if you just kept moving forwards. Another truck, another turret, and we are just in range to get shot by it, so we might as well just take care of it now. I'll speed that up for you, and we can make our way down this really handily placed vent. And in another ultimate dick move from the game, we've got some guys who spawn just as you reach the bottom. The guys that spawned there at least appear to be the weakest ones available of all the enemies in this level. You may also recognise them as they were the first enemies you fought at the very start of the game. Quite why Mars Corp would send them to destroy their own station, I don't know, but I guess that'll be explained later on. Down here at the bottom we've got the truck itself, now successfully neutered from its turret. Directly opposite from that is the actual main lift where everything appeared to come down from. Unfortunately we can't activate it and get up ourselves, so we're going to have to keep moving. In this room is the landing point you would have hit if you'd fallen off that ladder. As you can see, it's quite a long way down. There's not really anything here, so we can go back to the doorway in the vent shaft that we saw before and see where it takes us. A bit of cracked concrete there that caught my eye. Again, something very nice to look at. It's just a shame that the frame of the doorway has a missing texture that gives us the Hall of Mirrors effect in night vision mode, but well, I guess we can't have everything. This doorway in front of us leads to the same place that the vent shaft above also leads to, but we're going to step back here and use the vent instead because it leads to some lovely treats that we otherwise wouldn't get. Unfortunately, getting to the treats requires a bit of skill, and I seem to be lacking in some of it, fall a few times, so I'm just going to speed that bit up very quickly and then give you the run where I didn't fall like an arse. You may notice that getting around this particular part requires the night vision quite extensively. It's not very well lit, and as a result, when I finally get round to my third attempt, I've not got a lot of juice left, so it's kind of stumbling around in the dark and flicking the night vision on and off until I can get to the end. May have glimpsed it during the sped up section, but there's another gigantic sinkhole in the middle of the room. That's something you really want next to your technical equipment, I think. Oh god, don't fall. Right, okay. I think you're supposed to use that metal bar to get across, but there's no way I'm using that. With a bit of a squeeze, we can creep under here and go and pick up our goodies. Just got some ammo and some explosives, which will obviously come in handy. And we've also got something just random to look at up here. It appears to be a tunnel which is blocked off by a gigantic boulder, and we can just peek through this gap and see that there's some kind of gigantic grinding machinery or something on the other side. We'll end up seeing what that is in due course, but it's really a kind of superficial extra thing. There really is no point in this being here, but again, it's nice to see. Well, back we go. I'll just speed this bit up just for the sake of getting back. We're not going to walk all the way back across the catwalks, we're just going to drop down under the computer machinery and go from there. Quick save here, just in case I fall down the hole, and have a look inside, and then move on. Here's an extremely good example of the problems that you can have with wall textures. All of the faces are textured the same way, and there's no lighting in this area, so you have to make use of your night vision. And because of that, everything kind of looks the same. You have to rely on the perspective shifts and textures whenever you're moving around to get any sense of how big the tunnel is and where the turns are. In this area, we've got the big grinding machine that we saw earlier. There appears to be a problem with the sound. It only really kicks in when you get very close to it. Either it's extremely efficient or it's just a mistake somewhere along the lines. Can't do anything to the machine itself, it's just going to sit there and get on with things. I'm not sure whether or not this was left here by the Russians. I doubt it would have been left powered up like this. I can imagine that the rebels are probably just trying to expand. There was a small pause here just to refill my night vision meter, which I've sped up. And with it suitably recharged, we can move on. You can obviously tell that because this area is quite dark that it becomes a bit of a hassle. Brief pause here just to give you some indication that there is in fact a giant hole in front of us. Yep, if I hadn't recharged I probably would have barreled straight towards the light and down to my death. Anyway, this room's got some random machinery and bits of holes and things in it. We've got an interesting room ahead of us. It's obviously under some sort of distress and is tilted over. I always feel very apprehensive going through that. I keep thinking it's going to collapse underneath me. We do have some earthquakes that kick in whenever you step inside, which kind of accentuate the feeling. But we can nip out the other side unscathed and peek around here. Got a hole in the ground, which we'll no doubt be coming back to. And over here we've got... oh. Well, it looks like we're not going to be heading back. Given that we've got a hole in the ground to go through, you might expect this room to be empty, and you'd be right. I'll just speed it up and get rid of it. There's just some machinery inside, it's pitch black, and there's a dead end, so we're not really missing anything. Going down the hole itself takes us to the final conflict area of the entire game, and probably one of the most annoying. It also brings us the winner of our competition, so everyone say congratulations to Pure Rock for getting the closest to the death count. And why might this area be the worst? It's because it's a little bit of a maze. Guys just kind of spawn whenever you get to certain areas, and you really just kind of poke about until you find the exit. Really nothing more to it than that. So I hope you enjoy me stumbling around, because that's what you're going to get. It's a fairly insulting way to have to end the game. I really think they could have come up with a better way to have a final fight with a bunch of guys that didn't involve just kind of sectioning the whole area off like this. It's extremely lazy, and given the amount of detail that's gone into this level in particular, given how big it is, it's just really sad that the last thing is just a tutorial level type boxed up environment, and it's very disheartening. However, even though it's the end of this particular level, it's not the end of the game as such. We've still got another level to go, but we'll wait until we get to that point. Of course, taking a wrong turn leads you to absolutely nowhere, and you have to backtrack and try and remember the landmarks, of which there are pretty much absolutely none. You have to rely on lights and body placements, which disappear off their own accord, and health placement and that kind of thing. You end up with quite large periods of silence between actual conflicts, and we've only really got 2 or 3 left to go before we hit the end. It's just a little difficult to fill the dead air with something interesting to say about this place. The general rule of thumb though is that if you've got some people spawning behind you, you're going the wrong way, so just turn around and kill them and then, well, try a different direction. And of course, if anyone's spawning directly in front of you, they must die and you must get past them. Okay, fuck this. I'm really sorry to have to actually end this level this way, but I'm just going to speed up all these bits. It just takes far too long, and I really don't want to have to put you through it, let alone watch it myself. Here are the last few guys that you get to kill in the game. They're unceremoniously dead, and off we go. Over here is the actual exit. I guess we squeeze in through this crack in the wall and through that little entranceway you can just see. We've got a bit of a cutscene here that kind of doesn't make any sense, as we'll soon see. Welcome to the most jarring event in the game. Between levels you do get little loading screens that tell you where you're going, and this one is called Outro, so there's no mistake as to what's going to be happening here. For some reason you've lost all of your weapons and you appear to have fallen down a giant hole. There's no reason for this, no explanation. I've always wondered if the game was bugged in some way and there was a missing cutscene, but having looked through all of the assets, there doesn't appear to be any real explanation for this whatsoever. Whenever you start this level, you just simply don't spawn with any of your weapons, and you spawn with the default weapons for this kind of environment. And that just happens to be this crappy Mars pistol. So anyway, let's get a move on, I guess. Let's go and have an explore. This level itself also has no music at all, so I've left that out too, so you can, again, see how jarring this particular section can be. We've seen a lot of dead rebels, and things don't appear to be doing so well. The door ahead of us is actually where the game ends, so I'll see you in the credits. Oh, and keep in mind that this is what the entire game has been building to.
Ah, Stone. You're coming at the best possible moment.
We got the bastard, sir. He's still breathing.
Longwood! You monster!
Here, what a surprise, Mr. Castor in person. Or should I address you as Commander Castor? I must say that you found a nice distant place for your base. The only unhappy circumstance is that your welcome wasn't friendlier. Where has your sense of decency gone, Castor? Where are your ideals? Where are they? Is this to be the anthem for the liberation of Mars? 7 kilotons of Topex? The cup of my patience has run over, Castor. This unprovoked assault could not go without a response. Did you think when you attacked me and my people that I'd let it go? Nothing will save you now. You're finished. You were insane to believe your ideals, your base, the entire rebel movement is in ruins.
How? How did you learn about our base?
Are you asking me who betrayed you? You can see that I survived your well-prepared plan along with the main center, and it was thanks to—
It's impossible! I saw you die!
How can you in your shape trust what you saw? How can you believe your memories? Since when do you remember who died and how? The loss of memory must be a terrible thing. It allows you to forget your past, to forget who you are, what kind of bastard you actually are. Without his memory, a man has no past. Couldn't it all just be some kind of flashback, Jason? What if you were to wake up soon and find yourself on this spaceship on the trip between Earth and Mars?
Chaser! Don't let him manipulate you! Kill the devil! He's abusing cloning technologies, draining resources, appropriating things that belong to everyone. He wants to enslave Mars. He's preparing terrible things. Ah!
Castor, tell this gentleman, Mr. I don't remember you, I will kill you, exactly who was responsible for the cheerless status in which he now finds himself. Tell him how you attacked Majestic, how you let it explode, and how you interrupted his post-surgical rehabilitation, causing him trauma which cannot so easily be forgotten.
Castor! You attacked Majestic? You bastard!
I had to do it! Right after I learned what he needed you for. He has equipment which can scan the human mind. You would have betrayed all our plans, our hideouts. Nothing would have remained unrevealed. He would have destroyed us completely. But you did it. You escaped and came back. Now kill the monster and complete our plan.
You don't know anything, Castor. Long ago, I penetrated your movement. You had no idea how easy it is nowadays to break the human will. How quickly people agree to cooperate after they have experienced my Center for Non-Standard Interrogations. It was bad luck that nobody knew where to find you. You really are paranoid. Practically no one knew where you were. It was Stone who finally brought me to you.
Stone? I'll take care of Stone once I finished with you, Longwood. I have a few questions I want to ask him.
You don't remember anything.
What are you talking about?
Who do you think you are?
He doesn't know.
You are Stone. I brought you to the world as a rebel striving for revenge. You fulfilled your task perfectly.
I don't believe it.
Remember your instincts. Remember the flashbacks. Remember your training which you never could have acquired as a pitiful rebel. Look at the way it all ended in a fight against our units. And it's all over now. They're all dead. My soldiers are, and will remain the best warriors who have ever been on this planet, and you are their commander. Even those exoskeletons were your idea. If Castor's band hadn't damaged your memory, you would have fulfilled your mission much earlier with Gomez and Shimako to help you. Now dispose of the poor shit and complete our plan. I need you for your next task.
No, I am not Scott Stone.
But of course you are. You got him yourself. You shot the original Chaser. But before our doctors could get to him, he went into such deep shock from the bullet wound that he couldn't tell as much. Then there were additional complications and he fell into a coma. The prognosis wasn't good, though we didn't call the relatives. The scanned memory of Chaser was not a help to us because it was an incomplete scan. The computers couldn't manage it, so Plan B was born. You were to take his place after some small corrections, such as plastic surgery and a mind swap. However, the process was interrupted and you stayed without a memory. The only thing left was residual memories and the instincts of two separate minds. We almost wrote you off when Gomez began reporting the situation, but we had our miraculous Shimako. And she kick-started the hunter-killer instincts, and you developed your thirst for revenge. You didn't need anything more. Revenge. Your entire concentration was focused on getting Scott Stone. What irony. In any case, it helped you get to Mars. Although on your way, you traveled halfway across that dung-heap Earth. And could you pick the locations?
You say you scanned my memory. Where is it now? Have you got a backup? If I really am Scott Stone, you should have it.
Chaser, for God's sake, don't believe him. You aren't Stone. You're John Chaser. I know you well. Kill this devil. Finish.
Your memory was stored in the main computer of Majestic. Now it's probably somewhere either in Hell or in Montek City, which is only a jump from there.
So he has no proof. He's bluffing. You are John Chaser.
Shut up. You won't live much longer. You'll become my puppet. I'll pound all your knowledge from your head. None of those who escape today will survive. Not after today. You, Stone, come. You belong to us. You don't remember anything. I could have used him to trace the last rebel cells. It doesn't matter. There's no one to lead them. We'll catch them like the whipped dogs they are. You just sent them all to their deaths.
Or rescued them, Longwood. I figure what you're up to.
Never mind. We have nothing more to do. Catch Stone! Take everything you need and lay the charges. We're going.
There you have it. Like it or not, the ending is pretty much conclusive, and I do admire a game which has the balls to say there will be no sequels whatsoever. A lot of people may think that that's a good thing, and I for one would like to see a Chaser done in an next-gen engine, and I would definitely enjoy playing it. I'm sure it was just the same as this, bugs and all. Really, for me, this marks the last of this kind of game that really I ever played. After that, it all became about third person or cover shooters and that kind of thing, and this kind of game just sadly died a quiet death. Again, some people may think it's good, but I for one don't. I like to think that some of the things that I did play and enjoyed when I was younger actually still hold up to this day, and I think Chaser is one of them. Anyway, the game has come to an end, and it's time to make close on things. We've got some credits music here, which only makes another appearance in the game's trailer, and I happen to think it's quite nice. The credits themselves lack something which I would have liked, which is an actual localization cast list. At the very end of the credits, we do actually have a list of the voice actors, but not the roles they played. After a little bit of research, I found that Jay Benedict is the guy who provided the voice for Chaser, and that's really all I could find out. However, I would assume that they've hired all of the voice actors from one particular company at least, because the voice actors themselves actually work together again in some later games, such as Second Sight, The Witcher and Perfect Dark Zero. The time has come to say goodbye. I've been Giragast, and thank you for watching Chaser. I will see you next time.